The mystery of Abdullah, the potter. Abdullah, the potter. With the sun filtering through the eastern window, Abdullah, the potter, woke up. He stretched with delight, feeling his lithe, muscular body come to life. Rubbing his eyes, he sat up calmly. Beside him, young Jethro lay wrapped in a deep sleep, his harp resting close to him. "Jethro, Jethro," called Abdullah, "it is morning. Go to the well and bring water for the morning meal." Jethro got dressed sleepy with its picturesque crimson suit along with his heavy blue silk belt. He was a happy young man, a true son of the East, with copper skin and black curls that framed his well-formed head. Pushing aside the heavy woolen cloth curtain that covered the door of his abode, Abdullah stepped out into the outer courtyard and raised his eyes toward the eastern heavens. It was a new day, and the sky was a mass of gold and crimson, dotted with the softest mauve. "The heavens proclaim the glory of God, and the firmament shows his work," Abdullah whispered. There was a tremor in his voice as he repeated it. He felt the impulse of the new day taking hold of him, and so he reasoned, "It is a fresh and perfect new day, and I am a complete and perfect fresh new man at the hands of God. I have only the bright and ever-present now, which is pregnant with opportunity and goodness. And just as this day cannot look back on yesterday, neither can I bring back from yesterday any of its storms or sorrows. And just as every flower that blooms and every bird that sings happily through the hours are new and fresh acquaintances of the day, thank you, I always give thanks for this perfect and wonderful day that is a new rebirth." While his soul was filled with the morning and the glories of the new day, a bird took flight towards the liquid blue, singing its song of joy. It was almost as if his thoughts had taken over the wings of the morning. And as he tidied his house mind for the day, Jethro walked through the wide-open doorway with the pitcher of water on his head. He too had been contemplating the wonders of the heavens, and as he placed the pitcher on the ground, he stood beside Abdullah and said, "Look beyond that silvery sea of olive trees, there in the mountain valley. See how it stands wrapped in that misty blue hue. Isn't it beautiful, Father Abdullah? And see how the great leaves of those yellow-green plane trees sway in the breeze. The fragrance of 1,000 wild flowers permeates the air. Is it not a wonderful world, and are we not rich, Father Abdullah, to have this image always before us?" And Abdullah replied, "Praise be to God, whose work is shown." Well, Abdullah was a potter by trade, and in the color of his vessels he captured the glories of the heavens and nature, and in his designs he painted wonderful lessons of gratitude and peace. He was also a letter writer, and in short, a kind of confessor or judge, since those who had problems came to him with their dilemmas in search of a solution, and he always sent them away satisfied and with new courage. And lastly, Abdullah, which means servant of God, was a faithful servant of the Almighty. Abdullah had many friends, and he found them in all classes, from the noble lord in his wonderful white marble palace to the humble shepherd who lived outside the city gates. In short, he had a love that encompassed all men. His dwelling, which consisted of 2 small rooms, was in an enclosed courtyard and faced east. Before her stood a thick, leafy almond tree, and under the shade of this tree, Abdullah sat day after day working on his pots or writing letters, with Jethro nearby to sing to Abdullah and play his harp. A glance at the open door, only covered by a heavy oriental curtain, immediately revealed the moral courage of the man Abdullah and his open and God-fearing nature, for his abode was located on the outskirts of Jerusalem, near one of its less frequented 7 gates. And often, as he worked, Abdullah would tell Jethro the story of his pot, and sometimes, perhaps in starting a new pot, he would shape the solution to the problem of someone in distress who had come burdened with too many worries. Abdullah had learned years ago that just as a stone thrown into a pool of water causes rings to arise one after another until it reaches the outer edge, so a good thought deposited in the stagnant mind will bring one after another thought to the surface, until the whole mind has been agitated. And I also knew that by depositing these thoughts in the pool of a sleeping or diseased mind, in the end, When enough have been deposited in its depths, it will rise and flow like a small stream. And, as it flows becomes active, it will purify itself, and will receive a blessing. Love is the only active element in the universe, Abdullah had told Jethro. Make sure you are full of love at all times. Do not allow anything else to enter your consciousness, and as you move forward, you will reflect it in some way that will attract all men to you. So Jethro reflected love through song and music, and Abdullah through his pottery and his well-modulated, sonorous voice of truth. But there are many ways to let your light shine before men, so that they call you blessed. Prayer. In the city of Jerusalem, it was time for prayer. Around the door where Abdullah and Jethro were, many people were standing, kneeling, calling on the name of their God to help them and will help. The small group around Abdullah listened silently to their murmurs of prayer. "Tell us something about true prayer, Abdullah," he responded. "We admit that God is good, He is all, He is everywhere, and is the cause and effect of everything that really exists. We recognize that He is the source from which every good gift comes. Furthermore, in common reasoning, we know that prayer in its generally accepted sense means desire. This being so, we begin to see that our own desires or prayers, insofar as they are good, come from God, and are not, as we used to believe, requests originated by ourselves, but rather the impulse of God, the good that tries to find expression in us, the good that tries to manifest itself in the flesh. Perhaps, for example, you are praying for health, but since God is the only creator and good, in reality your desire for health is the will of God trying to express itself through you. You reverse the proposition and discover that, in reality, God's health and strength, the good, are trying to find expression in you. It is not you who is trying to bring them into your thoughts. If you are praying for provision, is it not actually the fullness of God seeking greater expression in you? Is it not the still small voice calling to a greater expression of substance to God? God is all substance. Then the desire for provision is a greater desire for God, or God striving to manifest Himself more fully. And suddenly, you turn away from your pleading prayers and adopt the attitude of "Speak, for your servant hears," and "Not my will, but yours be done." You start to strive for find out what they are their wishes. So, our part in prayer, after we have proclaimed that God is all and ever present, is to relax, let go, and turn away. Literally and figuratively, to say glorify your Son, so that your Son may also glorify you. Manifest yourself in me, fulfill my desires. I open the doors of my mind for you to enter. It is done. Now, if God is love and is present everywhere, then we live in an atmosphere of love. Why, in Him we live, move, and have our being. Let us establish a better sense of this atmosphere of love in which we constantly move. First of all, it is immutable and all-powerful, and you are completely immersed in it, and must necessarily be governed by it. Just as a fish is completely submerged in water, man is submerged, surrounded by the mind, and just as the fish in the sea finds its provision, health, and happiness in the middle of the water, man must be fed, clothed, and cared for by the one mind or the atmosphere of love that completely surrounds him. In fact, in establishing a fuller and better knowledge of this atmosphere of love, we completely lose ourselves, and so in losing sight of the ego, we have turned away, and there has been a complete healing, a regeneration of complete expression of love, a full manifestation of His love in the flesh. It is as impossible for man to reflect only some qualities of the mind, or of this atmosphere of love in which he lives and moves, as it is for a fish to be partially dry and still submerged in the ocean. If man reflects one of the qualities of the mind, he must reflect them all. If it reflects life, it should also reflect health, happiness, and success. You cannot move to a place where any of these qualities are lacking. There are no desert places in the eternal mind, just as a fish could not swim to a dry place in the ocean. Now comes our impersonal work, both for ourselves and for others, by establishing an idea of God as ever-present love. and focusing our attention on this one quality, we unconsciously help ourselves, and also anyone on whom our thoughts may land. For if we are immersed in love, nothing of an opposite nature can enter or affect us, and we participate in the qualities of this atmosphere, just as the fish is naturally wet, not by any effort on its part. It does not try to be wet, it simply is. When we reach the point where we can consciously feel that we live in this atmosphere of love, we cannot help but reflect its qualities. We are one with God because we are image and likeness. And what will separate us from the love that He grants? Nothing. The perfect man. And the morning of market day, Abdullah got up and woke up Jethro. June was still young and hung over the hills with a freshness. 1,000,000 diamond dewdrops captured and held the imprisoned sun, reflecting the mysteries of the rainbow. Above the valley, generously dotted with flowers and trees, a transparent and purple mist heralded the day that was to come. Abdullah was happy. I felt the emotion that only a mind full of goodness can feel when contemplating beauty. Life was worth living. There was so much good that could be obtained simply by stretching out your hand. There was a constant tonic of youth and health to drink from the wonders of nature. After breakfast, he and Jethro headed toward the east door with their small load of vases. "Doesn't the morning excite you, with its mystery?" he said to Jethro, and without waiting for an answer, he continued filling his lungs with the thin air of the first hours. "It's good to be alive. It's good to know that you are a perfect man, made in the image and likeness of Him." "A perfect man?" Jethro questioned. "Look, Father Abdullah, who is coming." And as Abdullah looked, he saw Jarej, the shepherd. He was undoubtedly a pitiful-looking human being, bent over and sick. "Is he a perfect man too?" Jethro asked as they continued on their way. They walked in silence for a while, and Abdullah said, "Jethro, you speak a little Greek, a little Egyptian, and Arabic. And in all these languages they have a different symbol for the same numbers. That is, you can express the quantity 2 in as many different languages as you know, and, although the material symbol in each case is different, the quantity remains the same. Eternally it is 2, and if every symbol that was used to express 2 were eliminated, the quantity 2 would remain exactly the same. Age will not increase it, nor will this is essentially true of all realities. The same is true of the perfect man, made in the image and likeness of Him. His substance is perfect and good, and cannot change, although the material symbol that represents Him may be anything from a hunchback to an athlete. Also, Jethro, when you see a column of numbers, some perfectly drawn and some poorly made, do you stop for a minute and say, "This 2 is badly made, I can't give it the full value of 2? No. You give it full value without ever thinking of taking away or adding anything to it, because it is bigger than the rest. In your mind, it has a fixed value or substance, and that is what you give it, no matter what the symbol looks like. Is it not our duty to give the material symbol of man its full inheritance, that of perfection and goodness, and look beyond the material symbol, just as you do with numbers, and calculate the absolute quantity and substance of the man made in the image and likeness of Him? What use would criticism be if they had this fact firmly established in their minds? And what wonderful help and encouragement would the world receive in knowing that every man is perfect, just as he was created? So criticism is really bearing false witness against your brother, is it not? Said Jethro. And what other motive could prompt you to bear false witness against someone other than hatred? Yes, said Abdullah. Criticism is hate. And with hate in our minds, love cannot enter and endure. But another good point for me, Abdullah said, is that, although the material symbol of man may appear distorted, with right thought and love, it can be straightened and healed from its infirmities. It is the symbol of the perfect man who lay in the pool of Bethzata for 38 years, and how all that time he was unable to help himself. Is it not appalling to note the lack of correct thinking on his part? There he lay, a son of the Almighty, an image and likeness, governed by the one omnipresent and omnipotent law of good, unable to move of himself, And all the time, the men at court told him that he was false, and refused to regard him as a perfect man, until one day Jesus passed by and saw him as a perfect man, with the result that the 38 years of slavery disappeared, and the man entered into his inheritance of dominion. What disease or evil condition can present itself as permanent when we stop for a minute to realize that we are perfect, created so by God and sustained eternally by Him? Was it not through Daniel's realization of the indestructible qualities of the perfect man that he escaped the jaws of the lions? He annulled his laws of matter by knowing that the perfect man was indestructible. But we need to do more than declare this truth of perfection. Having done everything, let us stand. Let us remain in place. We see that, although Daniel demonstrated the helplessness of the lions as soon as he entered the den, he still had to remain there all night. Patience must have its perfect work. Abdullah's philosophy. Wake up, you who sleep. Introduce a bit of actuality into your thinking. Don't wait to die to enter heaven. Behold, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is within you. What is heaven? It is happiness and joy. It is thinking and acting correctly. It is turning obstacles into steps instead of stumbling blocks. It's filling your mind with lots of blue sky and sun. There are infinite possibilities around you. Opportunity and fortune are literally begging you to take them. Destiny is the blind belief of the fearful. It is the great excuse for failure and stagnation. Failure is letting go of your grip. The word does not exist failure for him who thinks correctly. It is true that material conditions may change, but with the destruction of an eggshell, we gain an advanced state of progress that will eventually fly into the great free sky, vibrating with joy. Failure in the material sense can be an opportunity and a fortune that forces you to take a step forward, which until now you had been reluctant to take. Do not despair because you are dejected and defeated. You can always start over. There is always a new day. Success is not measured in dollars and cents, it is measured in happiness and satisfaction. Happiness is not something elusive that constantly eludes you, but a permanent state for those who think correctly. It has some of the qualities of a cork that refuses to remain submerged. Introduce a lot of joy into your thinking. Try singing instead of lamenting. Try to understand what it means to be a son-daughter of the Most High, a son of the King. Incorporate into your thought something of the nobility that belongs to you. Protect yourself by keeping your thoughts full of goodness and truth. If they are full of the good, there is no room for the bad or fear. Malicious thinking is the plague that produces all disease, sin and death, and right thinking corrects this. You can't think about death and life at the same time. One or the other is in control. Nor can you think about wealth and poverty, health and illness. Make sure then that you're thinking on the right side. When you think correctly, no pest will come near your abode. Have you lost your material home? Then you are ready to enter your divine heritage, and as synonymous with home it is happiness, not house, and happiness is a state of mind. You will find yourself already established in your new abode, full of large patios where you can walk in peace. This type of home is under the shadow of His mighty wing. Losing a material home is like shedding the cotyledons of a small plant. The plant has lost nothing by getting rid of these impediments. Rather, it is free and ready to grow towards the sky. Have you lost your best friend? Did he betray you? This can help you know that depending on your own understanding is dangerous, and also that God is man's only true friend, that He is immutable and eternal, nor does He ask for favors, etc. Just a righteous thought about Him. Have you lost your fortune? Every substance is His, and being His perfect child provides you with an ample supply. He takes care of your livelihood. You can't do anything by yourself. You didn't ask to come here. He placed you here, and He will provide for you. He is able to do all things, and to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Or the lack. Sow your mustard seed, the faith, and watch how He moves mountains. What are the doubts and fears? When you act like someone who has authority. Put on the whole armor of God. Do not imagine that because you have a sword in your hand you are safe. Put on the helmet of right thinking, the breastplate of righteousness. Be shod with the preparation of the gospel. Engrave the words on your shield, who is as great a God as our God. Then your double-edged sword of wisdom will pierce the lines of evil. Migo. Patience must have its perfect work. Remember that repeated good thoughts are needed to be effective. One strong good thought, offset by the rest of the day in evil thoughts, will not achieve good results. Remember that the walls of Jericho did not fall the first time they were surrounded, but the Israelites did not give up, knowing that when enough good thoughts were directed against those walls, they would crumble, and they did. Do you suffer because your grandfather ate sour grapes? He is the one who should have suffered for that, not you. You, probably, in your own wisdom, would have chosen sweet grapes. Don't let the stupid law of inheritance bind you. Put her to flight with the powerful command, do not call anyone on earth your father, but God. What belief of sin or inherited disease can resist this? Rejoice and be glad, for all things are possible to the man who trusts absolutely in God, and who knows that with him all things are possible here and now. The power of silence. One day when Abdullah and Jethro were sitting working, two men came up the road gesticulating and arguing madly. There was discord and hatred manifest in their voices, and vengeance shone in their eyes as, looking through the open door, they stopped at the sight of Abdullah, and then entered the courtyard at his signal. But immediately after entering, they began arguing again, each trying to make his case to Abdullah at the same time. Peace, peace, my brothers. Why this dissension? Do you not know the power of silence? No, said one of the two in an unpleasant voice. But we would like to, replied the other. They sat on the rugs Jethro spread out for them and waited for Abdullah to speak. You, Hajar, and Caspar are Christian men, and have read much in the sacred scrolls. And surely you remember how it is written that the blessed Saviour was laid to rest in the tomb, and that a massive stone was placed in his mouth, and a guard was placed over it. What happened in the silence of the tomb? Jesus, the Christ, solved the solution to the material lie called death. He showed that it was nothing more than a belief and something that had to be overcome. But notice that he did this in silence. In the silence he returned to the real cause of man and heard the guiding voice of truth, heard the word which spoke and was done. Could he have heard this word in the tumult of material disputes? To mortal senses, silence may seem like death, yet how often the ugly worm of thought is used in shape-shifting and silently, solving its problems, and at the appointed moment, it breaks the material law of limitation, and breaks free into a freedom previously unknown. God pervades the silence, and only in silence can we hear the voice of the great omnipotent guide. But Abdullah, one of the men, interrupted. How can we feel the power of silence in our own work? Being still, stilling the material senses one after another, and retreating to the secret place of the Most High. The mortal darkness vanished. But when I try to enter the secret place of the Most High, Hajar said, a million little voices cry out to enter one thing after another, and I cannot enter the silence of which you speak. It's good to remember, Abdullah said. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door of his mind, I will come in to him and eat with him, and he with me. At the same time that evil is calling to enter, the Christ is also waiting to be admitted, to dine with you. Which one will you admit? Which one will you give more power to? Does not the mere thought that Christ is there calling put all evil and sinful thoughts to flight? For they cannot live in his pure presence? So, brothers, before you argue and disagree about a question, and become angry and hate each other, go into the closet of your conscience, and close the door to all material voices and listen to this wonderful voice, which will guide you rightly. Do not argue with yourselves mentally, and do not wear yourself out with your arguments, whether audible or silent arguments, but be firm, and know that God is the source of your intelligence, and that right must prevail. Then when you have received his guidance, you can come out of your closet, clothed with a renewal of spirit, love and right judgment, because, my brothers, You only want what is absolutely right. And when you know that the law of right is always at work, how can anything else happen? What is so impressive as silence, and what carries with it so much dignity? It is the very essence of self-control and authority. And what is more pitiful than a man overcome by his anger? The noisy waves crash against the shores in vain, they bring only destruction. But the mighty silent depth of the ocean carries a fleet in its bosom. Be still and know that I am God. Be silent, and listen to the underlying melody that pervades all silence. It is the melody of life. It is the power that guides beside waters quiet and green meadows. The house that rose in the dark. Happened who lived near the Dorandis of the city was a nobleman, his wife and his daughter, named Retta, because her skin was like a lily leaf covered with morning dew, and her eyes were soft like a deer's. And this maiden Retta was beloved, and was found daily doing good deeds and extending kindness to those who were unhappy. But the last enemy called one day to the palace, and demanded tribute for his visit from this charming maiden. The whole country mourned the beautiful Retta, and a great procession laden with flowers followed her to her final resting place. The unhappy nobleman and his wife were like people without hope in the world, and the marble palace was covered in black, and the doors and windows were closed. Furthermore, over time, the beautiful garden, where Retta used to spend many happy hours among the flowers and the exquisite marbles that adorned it, became a field of weeds. Thistles replaced the roses, and ugly wild vines clung to the marbles and tried to hide their whiteness and beauty. The house was desolate. It was an example of the futility of human existence, and from a beautiful thing it had become a monstrosity. Now, according to the custom in Jerusalem, the man and his wife spent their time on the roof of the house, from where they could see the city on one side and the wonderful Lebanon on the other. June was at its peak. The wild flowers made the hills and valleys fill with color, enhanced by the bright butterflies that flitted from flower to flower, and the birds that darted and soared through the clear, transparent air, singing at the top of their lungs, "Come out and live, live, live." Everything called to the man and his wife to live and be happy. But they were so immersed in their sad thoughts that they paid no attention to anything. And it was on this same day that Abdullah and Jethro were returning from the market, where they had gone to sell the vases that Abdullah had made, and Abdullah went ahead, while Jethro followed him with the mule. He was playing a strange melody and putting words to it to suit his taste, a melody in an attractive minor key. Life is an endless circle. Death does not break the bond. Death is just a dream. Life is eternal. Nothing is lost. And the woman, sitting in sadness, was moved when she heard the strange music and said to her husband, "What does this strange young man mean when he says life is an endless circle?" And her husband, looking towards them, said, "It is Abdullah and his son returning from the market. He is said to have a strange philosophy that has explained many of the sorrows of this life, and he has transmitted his philosophy to this boy Jethro to sing and accompany him on his harp." "I wish I could heal my broken heart," the woman said. So the man, rising, struck a bronze gong, and a black slave appeared. "Master, at your service," he said, bowing deeply. "Go after the man and the boy who just passed by, and tell them to be our guests, and rest with us for a while." When Abdullah went up to the roof, the man, rising, said, "Greetings to you, Abdullah," and bowing, he motioned for him to sit on a rug that the slave had spread out for him. Jethro, who was behind, opened his eyes full of astonishment. It was he who saw the exquisite white marbles covered in black, and the large empty flower urns on the side. Nor did he miss the rich oriental rugs. All the riches of the world are nothing without the proper mental attitude towards the true substance. The servant, moving noiselessly, brought cigarettes and black coffee. "We heard your son sing a strange song," said the man. "Life is a circle. What does youth mean?" And then he went on to say, "And what does death does not break the bond mean?" Abdullah prepared to respond, but the nobleman added, "Has not our beloved Retta been taken by the last enemy and removed from our sight?" Then Abdullah answered and said, "Do you believe in God and that He is everywhere?" "We believe in God, and that He is good," they responded in unison. "Do you not know that He is eternal life, and that He is immutable? How then can death occur in an infinity of life? Can God change, or one of His ideas fall into oblivion?" A profound silence fell upon them. As Abdullah continued, "Life can change form. The tadpole in that puddle would not always remain an insect, but would expand its capabilities, and by changing form it would become a frog, without losing any of its previous capabilities, but rather reaching an advanced state of progress. Does the ugly caterpillar die when it becomes a radiant butterfly, and is what is left behind both caterpillar and butterfly? Would you want the beautiful butterfly, which has broken through the ugly cocoon and overcome the narrow limitations of the caterpillar state, to return to its former condition? And what other motive than selfishness could drive his desire for her return? It is clear that it would not be good for the butterfly, nor would it make it happy, but it might satisfy its selfish desire for possession. So, when our loved ones on their path of progress have achieved a freedom that we are unaware of, is it good and happy for them that we want them back, or is it to satisfy our selfishness? Is not death then, in its true sense, progress? Is it not unfolding? Does not the flower unfold at the expense of the seed falling? Yet is the seed dead? Did not the great master prove that death was a myth, when he rolled away the stone from the tomb, which seemed to have sealed the reality of death? Did he not say, "Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I am going to awaken him from his sleep"? I say, life is eternal. Can you conceive of an ever-present God becoming inactive? God the good is perpetual motion, and we, His perfect ideas and expressions of His thought, are controlled and governed by this perfect law of activity. Then inaction or death can never occur, although the idea or expression may change form. Whoever knows this law of progress, who will try to bind it by wishing and lamenting for those who have gone before and cut away the husk of materialism? Does the mother grieve when her child puts down his textbook and takes the next book in his hands? Does she not rejoice and say, "He is progressing, knowledge and understanding are replacing ignorance. He is finding his way out of the darkness, which is ignorance"? What is it that dies? Is it man, the image and likeness of the eternal God? Is it the perfect idea of God, which is sustained by Him, that dies? And whence comes a power contrary to omnipotence that destroys the works of His mighty hands? Are we paying proper homage to those who are departed when we hang our walls in black and sit in mourning, forgetting to live and reach out to help others who are here with us? Is the garden over there, tangled with weeds, a tribute to the beauty of the one you mourn? What failing heart at the sight of it would regain spirit and new hope? So I say to you, my good friends, remove these dark curtains from your windows and open the doors wide to let in the fresh air and sunlight, and restore the garden with roses, and watch the desert bloom. I am the resurrection and life. Even if it died, will live again, and he who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. That's what the Grandmaster said. The man who lost a friend. They were often seen together, these two friends, Hajj and Absalom. Closely wrapped in the mantle of friendship, they even aroused envy and jealousy due to their closeness, due to the protection they provided each other. They had been called Damon and Pythias, as they considered each other above all else. But one day, in this refuge of perfect friendship and love, a snake infiltrated. At first, they refused to listen for a moment to his insidious suggestions and arguments, but the snake did not allow himself to be pushed aside so easily. It was not destroyed, only pushed aside, and returned more subtle than before, until finally one of them succumbed to the seductive voice of hate, jealousy and envy, and turned against his friend, stabbing him in the heart. He stabbed him not with a steel knife, but with a sword of hate, which cut deeply and spilled the blood of their friendship. And one day, this man who had been betrayed went to see Abdullah. He was dejected and discouraged, because he had loved his friend very much. And Abdullah, looking up from his work, said, "Greetings, Hajj. Where is Absalom? for to see one of you is to see both." And Hajj, with words full of sadness, told the story of his lost friend and said to Abdullah, "Abdullah, you know well that I dressed him in fine purple clothes, and put a gold chain around his neck, and showed him preference in all things. And then, when someone came and whispered suggestions of distrust in his ear, did he not pierce me with the sword of hatred, and leave me on the roadside bleeding almost to death from the wounds his cruel words and actions inflicted upon me, and left my faith in man a shattered thing?" And Abdullah, rising, put his arm around Hajj and said, "Peace be upon you, brother Hajj. Don't you remember the first law, 'You shall have no other gods before me'? Were you not in a sense making your friend a god? Were you not elevating him as something to be admired above all, defying even his personality? Was it not because of him that all the pearls of your thought were kept? Then do not consider it a loss, but a gain, that the law of progress has forced you to not trust in your own understanding, and not to place your trust in the changing and variable material thing called man, but to turn first towards God, who is good. And your true friend, do not consider him your enemy, but your friend, because once again, he has put you in contact with God and has given you back your legitimate affiliation. And if he has trampled on your pearls, does he not teach you to guard your pearls more carefully, thoughts in the future, and not throw them on the ground again? They are valuable, and if a man seeks them, do not delay in giving them, but do not force them. Otherwise the animal desire in man will tear you apart. In exchange for your pearls of love and good thoughts, he would shower you with streams of hate and deceit. These, I urge you, put aside, for they are not worthy of anything else. Look over there at the dome of the Mosque of Omar. Notice how it stands out against the reddened sunset. Doesn't it look like a splendid white pearl in a glass of wine? Yes, like an amazing reproduction of Cleopatra's wine glass, in which she tried to dissolve the last emblem of purity she possessed, in order to consume it, so that they could consume the purity and singe their white clothes with the heat of the meat pots of Egypt. But, as with Cleopatra, although purity and goodness were submerged in the wine, they were only hidden, not destroyed. So it is with love for your friend. It is only hidden in the maddening intoxication of the wine of mortal hatred. And when he has emptied the cup of its bitter contents, and has wallowed in the mire of his own error, he will find this pearl, still unstained and intact, and will cherish it as the pearl of great worth. It is not hate, but compassion that should fill your heart. The compassion that the master felt when he looked across the sea of angry faces, raised his eyes and said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Love more, that is your motto. Not the selfish human love that desires to possess, but the love that liberates and sets you free. And remember, when I am lifted up, purified in thought, I will draw all men to me. Did not the Master say, "When your father and mother forsake you, I will take you to myself"? Can you then wish for a closer friend than the one who watches the sparrow fall? Go and feed among the lilies, Hajj. It is not your job to suffer because another has offended you. He is the one who must suffer, and will do so to the extent that you rise above the evil he has caused you. As you become superior to it, it will find no place in your thinking, and will return to its source to destroy itself. Selfish human friendship is like a mustard seed that is clutched firmly in the hand. It cannot grow or develop, and is worthless. The right kind of friendship is like a mustard seed that is planted in fertile soil. It is constantly developing, and although it may be one's joy, it is not excluded from others. Just as there is enough sunshine for everyone, there is also enough friendship and love for everyone. Abdullah, teacher, healer dawn. When Jethro passed through the low door, he saw Abdullah working on a vase. It was a beautiful thing to behold, large and heavenly blue. The potter's graceful arms embraced the vase as he painted clusters of blooming almond trees on the clear field. Jethro stood for a moment watching the potter move from his vase to the cluster of almond blossoms, which almost touched his bare brown shoulders. The almond tree stood covered with its mist of silvery whiteness against the clear sky, and the wonder of the day, the morning, hovered over everything. "What a glorious vase," he said, "and how perfectly you are putting the sky and the almond tree into it. When I look at it, the one gets lost in the other, as it should be," Abdullah said, without looking up from his work. "When you have a perfect concept of anything, you can easily reproduce it. I suppose the hardest thing then is to acquire the perfect concept," Jethro continued, looking from the vase to the sky to the tree and back again. "It is not as difficult as it is demanding. Many people cling to things and think of reproducing them, without understanding much more than the surface that covers them. As a result, they have a lifeless thing, like the child when he tries to draw the image of a man. As he matures with the study, he discovers that the study of the structure and anatomy of the man allows him to paint something under the skin that makes him more real and natural." Jethro listened carefully. "It is like some of the students who come for instruction. When you tell them that they are perfect because God is perfect, they immediately run away, feeling that they have all science at their fingertips, and are disappointed when they cannot reproduce, even in a small way, what they have learned. We must study, reflect, and learn the simple lessons before doing the larger ones. I do not want to discourage the student, for the moment he hears the truth spoken, there is some demonstration that he can make with what he knows, but if only he would be willing to demonstrate that truth and not attempt to prove things that are beyond their comprehension, at that time they would rise to glorious heights, upon a solid foundation of truth, which they themselves had erected, and which could not be swept away by storms. I have heard you tell the class that simplicity is the keynote of truth, and yet this all seems confusing to me. It should not be so. When the seed of truth is first sown, it contains the promise of a rose, but it has to pass through certain steps and stages, and when these stages have been accomplished, it will naturally open in all its splendor. If it is forced and finally opened by misguided loving fingers, it fails completely, because it had not arrived through constant growth to the place of demonstration. There is never a time when the seeker of truth cannot find something completely within his knowledge about which he can demonstrate. We only face the problems we are capable of facing at that moment, and if we solve them, persistently holding on to the fact that we are growing towards the light, there will be greater things to try, and greater tests will come to us as we go down the path. A soft, cool morning breeze rained almond blossoms on them. From a distance he called the first birds of the morning. From the east, the sifted gold of the morning sun was turning purple into shell rose. It was the natural time of prayer and thanksgiving, so the boy took his harp and sang his morning hymn, while the potter sat in silence, meditating on the wonders of life, its beauty, its happiness. The heavens declared the glory of him who made all things. Every day history repeats itself. Every night brings its tribute. To the remotest frontier on earth its mighty power is known. In the order of greatness of beauty, his work is shown. The sweet, warm voice trembled and fluttered in the air like an enchanted butterfly, and then fell silent. They sat for a while in silence, their eyes lifted to heaven, and their hearts full of gratitude as they prayed, and felt the momentum of their prayers rush through them. And Abdullah read from the sacred scrolls, "Do not worry because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity. Depart from evil and do good and dwell forever. The righteous will inherit the land, and will dwell in it forever. The law of God is in your heart, and none of your steps will slip, because the kingdom is the Lord's, and he is the ruler among the nations." After reading, the boy sang again, "In daily contemplation I delight in you. Oh, leave my meditation. Hold on to you correctly. Help me in deletion of idle thoughts and words. Keep me from all transgression, Redeemer, strengthen Lord." "And so be it," Abdullah concluded as he returned to his vase. If everyone in the world would sit for a few moments of rejoicing at the beginning of the day, before beginning contact with their brethren, they would spend the day happily moving mountains of error or evil. Morning prayer is like tuning an instrument before beginning to play it. Some people get up and rush out without being prepared. When a storm comes, they hope to still it with sweet harmony. But as they pass their hands over the strings of their instrument, they find it out of tune, and the storm continues as they try. Tune it amid the din of mortal thought. How much better they would have paused for a moment, and put it in harmony with praise and thanksgiving at the beginning of the day. This is what strengthens us against the struggles of the world. This is being preparing to meet the lions in the street. This is what makes our passage that of exquisite music. Giving thanks, receiving instructions. That is what makes the day a golden globe where there is no shadow or worry. He looked back at his vase. Jethro watched him as he worked, constantly looking at the spray of flowers near him. How often did you turn to them to make sure you had the right size, color, and shape? He was a true artist. As if sensing the boy's thoughts, the potter spoke again about the vase. When a man has a perfect concept of anything, it is not difficult to reproduce that thing. Now I have had the almond tree with me for years, and I have studied it in all its changes. I have come to know the silvery whiteness of its flowers as opposed to the bluish white of other morning flowers. I have gained a perfect concept of it, and I am producing it here in this vase, so that it may go to the city and bring with it a breath of the country, of the open. But suppose, for example, that instead of this inanimate vessel, we take the body or temple of man. Every day we come across hundreds of men who do not have the true concept of what a perfect body is or should be. His drawings are bad. I always feel like I would like to erase their drawings and start new ones for them. Instinctively, I want to give you the true concept of health or joy and happiness, so that you can represent it in the temple and turn it into something glorious, something beautiful and useful. There is a great and glorious law that governs all this. It is the sound of the trumpet, which will awaken the dead. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So simple that it seems difficult. People go through it every day without realizing it. They will tell you that it is all theory, that there is no truth to it, without ever stopping to consider that the very unhealthy thoughts they have are manifesting themselves and proving to them the truth of this statement in a way that should make them leap to understanding. And yet how simple it is when a man wakes up and sees that his thought has done it, or has taken him where it is, and is now. You immediately start the reversal process, and if you don't pass out, you will see the results. Some become discouraged because they cannot change conditions immediately. They forget that they have sown and reaped crops of error for years. They hope to come to the field and sprinkle wheat on it and see immediate fruit, forgetting for the moment that that same field has been densely sown with tares. But the true victor recognizes that the law he is now putting into operation for good is the same one he has been distorting and using to produce evil, and that he must now begin the process of weeding and the constant planting of good thoughts, good deeds, and words. All this is a glorious work for the victor, no matter how big the problem he faces, day after day. It finally brought him to the height of achievement without even addressing it as a whole. Men of little faith, why will we continue forward, failing to do the small things, because they are what the big things are made of? To move a mountain, we must begin by removing a small portion of it. Every grain of dust has to be moved before the entire mountain is removed, and it is the realization of this that makes the work worthwhile. We can start right where it finds us, and remove the obstacles that confront us today. Perhaps this is the tendency to have discouraging thoughts about the possible outcome. Perhaps it is mental laziness, or perhaps it is a feeling that my problem is bigger than yours. But either way, whatever it is just a small grain of dust that must be removed today, so that more debris can be removed tomorrow. And, finally, through daily cleaning and putting away, we will discover that the mountain has been completely moved, and that we have reached the heights of demonstration. And one of the greatest aids to attainment is morning prayers, the morning bath we might call it, when the mind is washed pure and clean from evils and prepared for the day. When the perfect concept comes to man, he gradually begins to manifest it in his life. He begins to realize that he is more than a reflection. He begins to identify with the Father within and not with the body. Jesus did this constantly. He was always one with the Father within. I and my Father are one. It was never associated with the body. The body was where the concept was developed. It was like a master's canvas where he drew his pictures, had his demonstrations, and manifested the Word. The Word became flesh and dwelt among them. You are more than body. The body is not a man. Man is something that cooperates with the Father internally and controls the body absolutely. Do you mean that man is not a body? Jethro interrupted. That's exactly what I mean, Abdullah replied. There is nowhere any authority for such a belief. Man is one with God. Man is the thing that has authority and dominion. The body never had dominion over any one thing. It is the animating influence, the mind that was also in Christ Jesus, that did the work, and that is what we are. We are the same power that moves and controls the body. It is our canvas upon which we can see the Word made flesh. It is our ground of practice. Now I see, said Jethro. Now I see how we have dominion, how we have authority. Until now I have always thought of a man as a body. Not especially the material body, but simply as a body. And I can see how completely impossible it is to make demonstrations with such a belief. We are divine, heirs, children. We are not bodies. We control the body by our thoughts. We draw on it what we want. We model it as we wish. We find with this new great freedom that we escape from the body or slavery. It's like it's something we deprive ourselves of. It's just a concept of what we have in mind. It's like that vase. You are not in it, and it has no control over you, but you can shape it, paint it, decorate it any way you want. You keep it from yourself. Even though it crashed to the earth, it would in no way affect you, because you are one with the Father within, and you have the power to take it back. I have the power to lay it down life, and I have the power to take it back. You are the divine spark, who is the true man, and who is a little lower than the angels, endowed with authority and power. It is very glorious to enter this domain, to remove the body from ourselves, so to speak, and not consider it a factor in our lives. It is very wonderful to consider it as a vase upon which we, the potters, through our association with the Father within, can trace designs of beauty. We can control it perfectly, never worry about it, never submit to it, or listen to their complaints, because clay cannot respond to the potter. It would put to nothing all the sickness and misery in less time than anything I know. Once they considered their bodies as a kind of separate thing upon which they were working out the design of their highest concept, they would not hear any complaints from them, because they would be in authority. And while Jethro spoke, Abdullah had painted on his vase a butterfly of pale gold, resting very gently on the almond branch. Oh, how beautiful it is! How lightly it touches the flowers, and how full of life, said Jethro, approaching. It is your inspiration. That wonderful thing that never touches matter and feeds among the lilies. Sarek the carpet maker. As Abdullah and Jethro continued on their way to the temple, they passed the dwelling of Sarek the carpet maker. He was sitting in the open courtyard of his small home, working on an exquisite Bokhara rug. The man and boy stopped and then went inside. Sarek stood up and greeted them. He was proud of the beautiful work before him, which was nearing completion. Its deep pink hue was like velvet on which rested geometric designs in turquoise and deep blue, edged with black and ivory. What magnificent work, Abdullah said, running his fingers over the velvety texture. It's perfect. Sarek smiled kindly. It's a prayer rug for Adana. Look, here's the Felfort, the sign of good luck, and he pointed with a brown finger to the Greek cross, which was artfully woven into the corners of the rug. Abdullah smiled at him. A good luck sign on a prayer rug seems unnecessary, especially if one knows how to pray. It is, said Sarek, but this is an order. He rubbed his fingers over the rich-colored surface, and not many people have overcome superstition and fear of signs and omens. That is true, said Abdullah, I have known people who knew the truth who clung to many superstitions. For example, some of them imagine thinking for a moment in silence, and then placing their hands on a certain part of the Holy Scrolls to find an answer to their prayers. This is the most rancid kind of superstition. It is a belief in a separate God. Sarik listened. He was a student of Abdullah, and often sat among the crowds at the gates of the city when he spoke. Do you mean then that we should not go without ourselves in search of our help? That's exactly what I mean, because there is absolutely nothing outside of you that can help you or harm you. It is not what enters a man, but what comes out, that defiles him. And one could also add, he does it. The signs and omens of good luck, the superstitions and fears to which men bow, have no power for good or evil. It is simply the attitude that the mind of man takes towards them. If a man has an amulet or a piece of good luck with him, every time he thinks of it, he thinks of good luck, and this tends to attract to him things that would not otherwise come before him. But when it is under the prohibition of such material thought, there are also so many contrary laws to operate against it, that its sign usually amounts to nothing. If you believe in luck, you must also believe in disaster or bad luck, or else you would not need an amulet or sign to protect or ward off bad luck. When a man comes to the truth, he must learn first of all that the glory of the truth is the understanding that there is no separation between him and God, and that you need have no recourse to any other sign or wonder than the mind of Christ within. You cannot imagine God lowering himself to things as absurd as those believed. For example, some of the most advanced thinkers accept at least in part the signs of the zodiac and suffer the predictions made by their adepts. Would it be reasonable to imagine God as the creator of the law, and then have him transfer it to a number of stars, etc., and imagine the intricate mass of laws crossing and recrossing to find or put into operation the millions of destinies that are supposed to be under your control? And it is impossible to grasp such a complicated form, and especially when you realize that it completely excludes God from his kingdom, and puts control of the universe and man in the hands of the stars. However, many suffer both directly and indirectly because of their faith in these things. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. If he believes that these things have power over him, they certainly will have power, until he suffers enough from the experience to wash his hands of it all, and return to the glorious fact that he is not separated for an instant from God, who is the only power. This is worthy of a quiet half-hour meditation, this fact that God and man are one. It may seem great on the surface, but when you pause for a moment and think, I am one with God, then you think about what God is, and feel the sweet security of your oneness with God. A great cloud of worry and anxiety will rise. She will be lifted from his shoulders, and he will be freed from the belief in signs and omens, or even from the blind belief in searching for a sign in the sacred scrolls. Abdullah, said Sarik, I have often been guilty of this. I have often prayed silently, and then placed my hands on a part of the scrolls, and read the verse, striving to get a direct answer to my prayers. But if I had stopped to consider it, I would have known that it is just as important as it is to put your hand on this Greek cross and hope that something good will happen. The truth is based on a principle, and even if you keep your hand on the principle all day, it will not solve a single problem. What is required is application. Therefore, of course, when we pray, we are given the answer, and also the way to put it into practice, and we do not need more signals. If only we could see the importance of thought, and how valuable it is to govern it absolutely. I suppose if people knew what thought really was, they would be wide-eyed in amazement at the fact that a thought is as powerful as an action, and sometimes more, said Abdullah. It would revolutionize the world if everyone knew and followed this. There are many things now that you can think of that you would not put into action for the world, yet in some vague way, every thought bears fruit. Such you may be able to destroy its effects, or uproot it before it comes to light, if you are alert. But think of the wonderful peace of mind when you realize and practices the theory that every thought is as powerful or more powerful than an action. He will provide you with protection and help that you have not yet known. Our prayer should be, Lord, may I receive sight, the sight that will enable me to see these things and put them into practice, and get rid of this superstition that casts a fog over everyone. Let us learn to live, not only close to God, but in God, and know that He is present in every conversation and sees the thoughts of men so easily. As you see the carpet in front of you, it is a happy thought to know that not a single good thought or word is ever wasted, and that it must produce fruit according to its kind. It stimulates us to think more carefully and therefore to act. Just think what it would mean if men realized that with the next thought, they were going to extract all subsequent thoughts from God. And yet, this is divinely possible when we realize the glorious unity of God and man. Suddenly we enter into the knowledge that an immutable God could not be the father of changing man, that the superstitious belief of growing, maturing, decaying and passing away is nothing more than a belief of life in matter, instead of in God, because in it we live, we move, we breathe and we exist. God is waiting to manifest Himself to you, and you can manifest as much of Him as you wish, holding fast to the knowledge that you are one with Him and that He is unchangeable. Age fades away, it is nothing, because the immutability of life does not record the days and nights, or the years and months created by man. Ah, this is a glorious thought and worth sitting quietly with. I and my Father are one. You have heard it for years, but when you reflect on it again with the thought that from the next thought I am going to think the thoughts of God, it will reveal in you a newness of life and purpose that you have never known before. The still small voice of the that has been said so much will eventually become the only voice, as you begin to realize your oneness with the Father within. At first the din of mortal thought and life will cry loudly for an audience. It will bring evidence and facts to your attention. But as its voice is silenced by the inner turning, it will eventually become so weak that it cannot be heard. Then every time you turn inward you will hear only one voice, and that will be the still small voice that will guide you towards all the truth, because la voix apacible, small, guides, points, illuminates and shows the path you must follow, without confusion or fear. Now, when a seed is cast into the ground, it first dies, and as it falls, new life comes to light. You fool, what you sow does not come to life except to die. When you enter the inner silence and plant the thought of your oneness, the old life of the separate life will die and the new will be born, and the new life, God gives the body as He pleases, and to each seed its own body. So that the renewal and regeneration of the work done in this way produces results. There is a reason you are right where you are in God's great plan, and it is your place to reject all suggestions of doubt, fear, discontent, and listen to the instructions you are going to receive, not from outside teacher, but of the greatest teacher of the entire universe, the voice still small, which will guide you and show you all things, if you are willing to listen to it and let it guide you. He knows better than anyone what you need, because He has been with you throughout all your progress. Then reject the thought that you are not in the right place, that fate or circumstances have bound you. The moment you realize that the law of God is operating inside you, you will see what that law is. Can you believe this? Can you have enough faith to turn to yourself and declare your oneness with God and see how it works in perfect harmony in your life? Even as I speak, I am guided by what I tell you, because I always declare the inner Father, and I give you the message that He speaks to me. He will bless you as He blessed me, and will not return to us void, but will fulfill. It is God who works in you. The real work you have to do is express God. That is the reason you are here. And now you will understand why you should search the Scriptures, and because in them you believe that you have life. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The place this message finds you is the place you have created for yourself, whether with right or wrong thinking, and you can change it by consulting the voice still small, why in the blink of an eye, everything will change. I wish, said Sarik, that Adana could have heard your talk this morning, Abdullah. He would never again have turned to the stupid symbol of good luck, but would have grasped again the principle of overflowing goodness that floods our lives with more than we can accept. The rug will bring him great joy, Abdullah said. It is a thing of beauty. Its exquisite colors so perfectly combined and blended are a lesson in harmony and tranquility, and show the mind of the Creator, and perhaps the principle that you have woven into every stitch and tied into every knot will one day reach him and make him see the true God, who knows no such thing as luck. Treatment. There was a magnificent array of colors as the men gathered for Abdullah's afternoon talk. They came from the four corners of the city, each bringing a beautiful rug on which to kneel or sit. Their long robes and turbans formed a particularly attractive image against the gloomy grey of the walls. At that moment Jethro's warm, sweet voice was heard singing as he played his harp. Call on the Lord and he will answer you. When the music died down, a hush fell over the assembly as Abdullah took his place before them. My friends, he began, I will speak to you tonight on the subject of treatment. It is a vital thing to talk about, because it is the practical apparatus of prayer, and it is something that concerns us all very much. There are as many types of treatments as there are types of prayers. Some pleading treatments, some challenging treatments, some I've done my part now do yours treatments, and some practical application of the word that heals instantly. As a man advances in the knowledge of what the treatment is, he stops going around and around to get there. He makes a direct shortcut and hits the first shot in the center. The way to begin a treatment is by denial, a quick and decisive denial of the lie, as if with a swipe of your hand you erase the existence of an error on the blackboard or remove the dust from a chair. This denial would not be laborious or difficult. It must be authoritative, and yet without accepting the condition as a reality. There is nothing to fight against, for all is harmony and peace. After the quick denial has been made, the next thing is to back up your denial with the appropriate affirmation to the condition. It is good to discipline the thought and train the mind to bring about the direct antidote to error. In materia medica, certain things are used as antidotes to others, and a wise doctor will have them at his fingertips. The same is true in self-improvement. There are certain statements that, when understood and applied correctly, will act quickly and obtain results. I do not wish to convey that one must stop and look for the particular thing, or thought that will counteract the problem. You must train your thoughts in times of peace and balance so that, when the storm breaks, you will have prepared yourself to meet any emergency. Do you know that within the sacred scrolls there is an antidote for every error of the flesh, and you can find it and use it? You can catalogue these things as you study and make them your own, so that when bad times come, you can defend yourself. As an illustration, we will take a test case. Suppose a man fell and sprained his leg. What statement would you make after the denial of no accident is possible for the man of God? In their hands they will carry you, so that your foot will not strike a stone. Can you think of a more complete treatment than that? Is there anything that is not covered? That's why. If this statement is applied quickly enough with proper understanding, it is much more likely to produce an instantaneous demonstration than if the person started with the statement, God is good, God is everything, all love, etc., etc., until he reaches the point of being able to say that nothing bad can come from God. We know that this method of reasoning has done wonderful things, but now we are no longer children in thought. We have grown up and come out from among them, and now we are about to enter into our authority and dominion when the word is spoken and done. When you try, you enter the secret place, and there you find the Father within. You ally yourself with him and speak the word of healing to any bad condition. Don't be afraid to say, I will come and heal you. There is no need to fear who does the work. Jesus used such expressions freely, and told us to follow the example he has given us. When you are called to help, it is because your light has been shining bright enough to impress the pilgrim seeking help. So don't deny anyone this help. When someone comes to you, they want your help, not someone you can refer them to. And another thing is this, that they can get the help they seek from you. They have been led in their limited form to the place where help is located. And if it is you, do not deny them. Otherwise, if you deny me, I will deny you too. Remember that by serving the least of these, you have also served me. As we move deeper into the promised land, we see that every thought, whether good or bad, produces some type of fruit. Every idle word will be noticed, and we begin to take care of our thinking and action as we would with the pearl of great price. Do you know that it is the material senses that close the doors between you and God, and that gratitude is the tide of love that forces them to open? The grateful mind has little to overcome, because it gives little importance to the material problem. There is a very complete sense of happiness when we realize that God is working out His holy purpose in you, and that we are the consciousness of Him, and are here entirely to express it. Once again, I bring to mind the importance of clearing your mind in the morning. Relax, let yourself go and bless everything. And also truly, that the man who can keep his mind calm until 10 in the morning will find no more obstacles during the day. I believe this, because during that time you have become so strong that there is no chance of the error becoming real to you. When I wake up, I'm still with you. When I wake up from the dream of the unreality of material thought, I discover that you are there. Start the day well. Cleanse your mind of all hatred, fear, struggle, failure, and discouragement. You have before you a perfect new opportunity. There is nothing that can spoil it except your wrong way of thinking. In schools we learn that the two generally primary laws with man are these: the law of self-preservation and the law of self-interest. We do not have to emphasize the fact that this is true materially because we see everything around us, but turning spiritually to man, we find that the same is true there too. We constantly work on the truth to have better health, more wealth, better homes, and a more peaceful environment. We are constantly trying to bring more of the power of Christ into play in our lives, and this is also right, because there is no way to help other than by becoming strong. When you manifest strength and health, you are a living example of your faith. When you manifest supply in abundance, you are only bringing out one of the divine laws. To be perfect, man must bring out all the various phrases of the mind. We must be totally complete. To have, you have to give. The open mind can receive more than the closed one, and the same goes for the hand. If your mind is closed, grasping the seed of truth, it cannot grow, and, consequently, cannot multiply. We must give, have. Pour out your love abundantly to everyone who asks for it, and it will be returned to you multiplied. I have never known this to fail. I have always received tenfold for all I have given. If I give health, through the understanding of the principle, to another, through that giving, I gain a better sense of health than I had before. Every time I can test the law of God for another, I am more convinced that it is the truth, and I become much stronger in the truth. The old idea of sacrifice is nothing more than the new idea of giving. What we offer is what we receive multiplied by 10. There is a law behind this. If you are afraid to give, it is a sure sign that your God consciousness is very small, and that you believe that you have taken from Him everything you can get, and that you will not let it go. If you know that you are a medium and a channel through which all good flows from God to man, you will know that as long as the channel is open, there is enough substance to flow through it. Fear not, it is your Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom is within you, which is God asserting your birthright, going out with authority and following the parables that Jesus taught. When you study and realize that there is nothing that can separate you from the source of all good, then you know that what you give is not yours, but the Father's, and thus you know that you cannot become impoverished by leaving it. When the man born again, he realizes that true happiness and glory are only possible when the material thought of creation is totally eliminated and destroyed in his consciousness. After being resurrected, he makes his ascension and no longer knows matter as a reality. The material man says, "You better be dead," but the spiritual man realizes that true happiness and glory are only possible when the material thought of creation is totally eliminated and destroyed in his consciousness. After being resurrected, he makes his ascension and no longer knows matter as a reality. As you work in the truth, you will realize that the spiritual man is much greater than the poor material concept that you have had with you for so long that you could not recognize any resemblance. It is like an artist who conceives a beautiful painting in his mind and tries to reproduce it on canvas, but the best of them admit complete failure and know that the actual painting resting in their mind is infinitely more beautiful than their best efforts. So it is with the spiritual man. The material man that is seen is a poor falsification of the image or concept that is held in mind, a thought for the day. Every cause is mental, the effect will occur only. If you want health, don't think about illness. If you want wealth, don't think about poverty. Every cause is mental. Take note of this, and observe yourself throughout the day, and see how many times you have fallen into the wrong state of mind. The entire cause is mental. The effect will take care of it. I want to emphasize the importance of this. Do you sow the cause of something today, and then worry about the effect tomorrow? Look at the cause. A muddy stream, when cleared at the source, will generally clear as it empties into the ocean. The effect will follow the cause. It all starts in the mind. If you don't believe it, simply review the things you possess, your health, your wealth, your happiness, and see how many of them are not attributable to some initial thought. Every cause is mental, the effect will give in itself. Remember the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." Hate kills. How many times a day do you kill something out of hate? Hate is also a burning fire that burns, that consumes only the place of its origin. Love, the opposite of hate, is life. Love breeds hope and life. How many times a day do you stimulate new actions of your love? Love is also a healing oil that soothes, calms, and brings peace to the suffering heart. It is the direct antidote to hate. Cannot be repeated too often. I am the temple of the living God. Thinking this way will rebuild and renew the broken and fallen body, cleanse, purify, and strengthen the abode of the spirit. How many sometimes you enter your temple and expel the money changers is evil thoughts, and those who sell pigeons, which represents the misleading concessions to matter. Practice come in every morning to pray. He who sees in secret will reward you in public. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Have you ever tried to meditate on this before sitting down to dinner? If not, try it and see what happens. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What do you want to do? The next time you decide to take a new step, meditate on this truth. If you raise your thoughts to God who is within you, you will not only get what you want, but you will actually attract Him to you. You will become a magnet for good. This connection, or contact with the God within. Do you realize that daily you are showing the world what your thinking is and has been? Your body is the practice field, where everything is shown. You better start observing those thoughts right now, so that the much-needed change can take place, and the world can see your light before hearing your voice. Let your light shine before men, so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Where is heaven? Think about these things in silence. Get away from the personal attitude. Some people identify with the illness until they actually claim it. Don't monopolize all of these mistakes. You might get a corner on them and find you have a poor product on your hands. Get the impersonal view of life and use the good in abundance, but do not try to corner it. Some water stagnates when cornered. The steam stays fresh and purified. When you realize the power of thought, you will begin to know that the spoken word has a power that, when used carelessly, is a dangerous thing. A little learning is a dangerous thing. Save your thought mirror. Remember that sometimes we can put into practice He spoke and it was done. Repetition is necessary to discipline thinking. Do not be weary, because the same truth is presented to you in half a dozen different ways. We must overcome and dominate the old man, so that when the prince of this world comes, he will find nothing in me. He comes every hour, introduced to you by every passing man who isn't thinking straight. Guard your thoughts so that they don't find anything in you. If you want to know something about the life, study it from all its various attitudes, first as can, then how love, then how true, then how intelligence. Take these one at a time and see if the smallest part of the real seeps into your expression of life. Remember that God is the only life, and that means that God is your life, and that your life must have all the attributes of God. Take a look at this and see if you have any of them. Be very insistent on this. It's worth it. Remember that you can always get up and go to your Father, and that He will meet you when you are far away. There is no such thing as an outcast in the kingdom of heaven. You have an opportunity, and the desire to return to your Father's home that points you in the right direction. It's just a matter of persevering until you get there. Do not feed on the husks of fear, doubt, and condemnation. You are free from birth. Affirm your freedom. Get up and see your Father very often. You don't need to fight. Put your sword. The battle is not yours but God's. Don't get the idea that you can throw anything at God, because there is nothing to throw. Clear your mind and your problem will disappear. Don't think that drifting without doing anything will get you anywhere. The fact that the battle is of God does not mean that you will go to bed to pleasant dreams, but that you will be awake waiting for the clarion call of victory. You haven't caught anything. God's abundance is there. And when you cast your nets, you leave aside material thought. Not only you will catch many fish, but they will become fishers of men. You don't have to leave your current place to get rid of a problem. In fact, if you do, you'll find that trouble is the first to greet you when you reach the end of your journey. Get over it here and show that this is sacred ground. You can do it. Gird up your loins and to undertake. Now we are the children of God. Have you ever claimed your rightful position in life? Have you ever tried to feel that you are the son of a king, and that king is the most powerful and only king in the universe? If not, try it for a few moments each day, and at the end of a month, you will have a nobility and a power that until now has seemed too good to be true. When you think of the fact that I am the son of a king, something supreme and beautiful takes hold of you. You begin to realize a certain aristocracy that is independence from shield, coat of arms, or surname. Suddenly and without warning, you feel yourself breaking through wall after wall of doubt, limitation, fear, and worry. You get rid of worry and tear down the vines of doubt, trampling weeds as hateful as chance or destiny. Oh, what a glorious feeling! What a perfect new emotion comes over you when you realize that, after all, your first fairy tales are possible and can come true. May you finally live in the King's palace with an abundance of love and life, with the King's treasure open to you, and you at your best, in your best moment, and in possession, and giving expression to the wonderful gifts of love. And then you seek as one who has authority. You say as you fill your lungs with new and wonderful life, I am who I am has sent me. I am. You repeat it over and over again and slowly. A happy feeling comes to you that you are whatever I am, because you and I am are one. Within the secret place of your being you go and communicate with the Father, and from this place you speak to your I am. I am healthy, I am rich, I am cheerful, and I am happy. Oh, what an exciting and joyful feeling arises when you begin the I am process, and when you realize that you are a son of the Most High, and are one with the Father. Your mind becomes supreme, your actions become supreme. You were born to have dominion, to rule. All things are placed under your feet. What are these deep, rancid growths of weeds that have almost suffocated you in your sleep for a brief moment? Their poisonous smells have almost made you believe that they were real, and that there was no escape from this terrible condition. Yes, you say, my condition is this way or that way. I am bound, so to speak. I see no way out of all this. Every time I try to take a step forward, I get caught in the weeds until I am the miserable, unhappy, burdened thing. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The king's trumpet blast is calling for his son. Your condition is of supreme importance. Like the beauty that slept for 100 years in the palace around which a huge forest had grown, the prince, your divine inheritance, has come to free you and claim you again. What rejoicing there is in the palace and in the deserted places, when the agitation of life and dominion has put it back in order. What joy and what emotion your poor life feels when it enters into its sonship. With the movement of your mighty power you cleanse from your mind all the thoughts that bind you, and have held you in the abyss, and have made you pay every cent. You are supreme, you are supreme. Your palace or body is supreme. It's wonderful, it excites you with a new life. Shine with new strength. Your divine self arises and affirms its power. Search the joints and the marrow and drive away all the shadows of fear and doubt, of sin and disease. Wake up, wake up, wake up! The trumpet of your hour sounds again. You are free, you are in power, and you have dominion. Rejoice and be glad, I am supreme. When you come to the knowledge that you are a son and you are supreme, then you become a miracle worker or a demonstrator of this truth. Your faith, which was like a mustard seed, now blossoms like a great oak and covers 1,000,000 plains. You speak now with authority, your I am advises and advises you. As the idea presents itself for manifestation or expression, make sure that the idea of life is fresh, bright and beautiful. Make sure you stay young, because youth is growth on the path of struggle. Life has no knowledge of time, it is eternal, and cannot be stained, wrinkled, or become the calendar of the material age. Let go of that old belief that you are so old. You are supreme and eternal, you register nothing but eternal youth. What are the attributes of youth except strength, joy and love? Do you have these qualities in your makeup? Do you make people happy when you meet them? Do you radiate this spirit of youth? It is your province, start being happy. If you want to be strong, don't have the image of a starving Armenian in your mind. Control Hercules. If you are young, do not reflect on Methuselah's appearance. Take the youth and hold on to it. Saturate your thinking with what you want to see manifested in your body. If you were looking for a certain color, say red, you wouldn't still be thinking about violet. But the red would be in your mind so that it would instantly come into view and you would recognize it. What you have in mind will be attracted to you. Make sure you keep nobility in mind, because you are the son of a king. Forget, forgive and bless all humanity. Rejoice and laugh, refusing to accept any adverse condition. Keep smiling at them and refuse to let them catch you. I am a son of the king. I feel free and happy. I am the son of the king. I am free and happy. I feel happy and carefree. I find past conditions collapsing and disappearing. It doesn't matter if I have lived in darkness and doubt, superstition and fear for years. One moment and I am free. I loosen the chains that have bound me to these heavy weights, and they roll down the mountain towards the deep pool of oblivion. I trace these bad conditions back to the idea that produced them, and there I loosen them and let them go. I free those who have been bound, and I am thus freed and blessed. O glorious life, one with God, one with my Father, and one with the entire universe. Sing songs of praise and thanksgiving. Surrender yourself and your body to a glorious service of praise. Praise your wonderful body. Forgive him of all those bad things you have accused him of. Tell him, neither do I condemn you. You are free. You are the temple of the living God. You are a glorious, radiant temple, beautiful to behold. I rejoice for you. When you begin this praise service, a flock of dirty, sickly, sinful thoughts will sneak out of your mind, and with them superstition and fear will enter the pigs as a means of destruction. And you, standing there looking at the sea of infinite love and strength, rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. A T, the beginning. What land does that remind your mind? What do you think when you say at the beginning? Can you mentally take yourself to a place of quiet silence where nothing has manifested yet, that is in the beginning? Then you move away from the beginning and begin to see creation appear. What did it appear from? In the beginning, before a single plant or animal came to light, there was nothing but silence. The substance of things hoped for is the material from which creation was made. This beautiful world of ours was made of something, you must admit. It was not drawn from nothingness or emptiness. It was formed and molded from substance, thought substance that became visible. A perfect concept of a thing rested in the mind of the Father, and when it was perfected there, it came to light and became a living word, or the Word made flesh. And so today nothing is made from nothing. You must have something to create it. You must have substance from which to make a thing. And when you take all this reasoning to in the beginning, you begin to realize how wonderful this substance of thought is. Just think about it. It is the foundation or substance, cause and effect of everything. Have you ever stopped to think about where a branch of wood really came from? You answer, it grew. Yes, but even supposing it has grown, it must have something to grow from, something from which to form its visible substance. Certainly the finished oak is in the acorn, but after all, what produces the cells and the fibers and, ultimately, the solid oak? You say that a man grows from a baby, or you say that he develops, but what provides the material accompaniment of growth? Going back all this to the beginning, we find that everything first had its origin in mind, and that mind is the substance or formless thing from which creation was drawn, and the command "let there be" was the power that gave shape to its desired end. Before you can write a letter that is formed in the mind, you immediately set about drawing the material that is to form a letter. If you build a house, you first do it mentally, and there the image of the letter rests eternally. Gradually, as you assemble the material and the workers, you see your image or mental image manifest in the realization. The same goes for a demonstration of health. You must first assemble the thoughts or mental substance that health is made of. By carefully drawing out your arguments and laying the foundation for your arguments, you begin to see your image or image of health manifested in the flesh, and we have what is called healing. One of the greatest formation processes, which brings this divine formless substance into a formed or framed manifestation, is faith. Of course you know, and you say, well, after all, we're right where we started years ago, back to the idea called faith. But perhaps you have never stopped to consider what faith means. When understood metaphysically, it overcomes desire and longing and becomes a wisdom that does not resist, that does not crave, that relaxes, and at the same time is acutely alert. It is similar to something positive, like when you turn on a switch and wait for the electrical current to work. So faith, when raised to the highest understanding, becomes a more positive driving force than electricity. Your faith has saved you. Not your longing or desire or even your longing, but your faith. We need to cultivate the same faith of the woman who touched Jesus and received her healing. The faith of the man knocked through the roof. The faith of the centurion. When we begin to realize that we are allied with the Father within, we begin to speak of this authority that this alliance makes possible. When someone comes to you for help, they have faith in you, and you know you can do the job. They are not seeking the material you, but the Father within you who, for one reason or another, has manifested himself to them through you. Therefore they seek him through you. Remember that you had nothing to do with this decision. They are seeking it through you, because they either saw the Father in you made visible, or they heard others testify to the fact. What then is your duty in this matter but to say with the Father to your patient, your faith has saved you, take up your bed and walk. And if you dare to do such a thing in the sanctity of this covenant, your patient will take his bed and walk, healed and renewed. Do not be afraid to ally yourself with your Father. Stop claiming material paternity. You're not a Jones or a Smith or someone else if it means you're going to wear the badge of a material inheritance. You are the son of a king, and you must take care of your Father's affairs. It may help you in your work to go back to the beginning and clear your mind. Take it back to the time when nothing had yet been manifested to the world, and then begin your let it be done reasoning process, bringing out only what you wish to see manifested. If you wanted to build a house, you wouldn't think of a cave or a hut, but of a finished house. The same goes for health, wealth, and happiness. You must continually keep in your mind the pattern that was shown to you on the mountain. At certain stages of construction, a house doesn't look like much more than a pile of rubble, but out of that comes the finished product. The shell must be broken, and the cocoon destroyed before advanced stages of demonstration can come. It may seem like pestilence, misery, and hunger at first to go out into this sea of material laws, but if your faith is fixed, forgetting your own life and keeping your eyes up, there is nothing but continuing. Progress can come to you and you will not sink. I will arise and go to my Father. This is the first step to returning from a faraway country. Arise wherever you are, and return to your Father. He is within you, waiting to ally with you. All power will be given to you through him, and the years or months of mistakes and errors will vanish. And when you and your Father take a journey into the kingdom, you find the kingdom of heaven is within you. You go with the Father to most of it, and begin to build the fallen walls of your garden. You say to the weak points, be strong, renew yourself, receive your light. You speak life again to the flesh and see it manifested, fresh and pure and with the vigor of youth. What are these wrinkles and grey hairs and poor eyes, but a turning away from a certain part of the kingdom, the substance of life? Can you deflate a balloon as long as there is air left in it? So it is with our bodies. Until the divine mind releases the Word made flesh from our body, it is impossible for it to show a single sign of age or decay. Now go out to your garden and level these lifeless places. Claim again the coming of the kingdom of heaven. Put age to flight by your knowledge that mind, life, God, you and your Father are eternally young and beautiful and have no regard for time or conditions outside of you. Not what goes in, but what comes out of a man defiles him. Think about this, dear reader. Suppose you smile. Does this condition take place from within or from without? Inside, of course, you say, and it is something voluntary. You are, to a small extent at least, aware of the mental effort when you smile. You do the same when a wrinkle appears. Unthinking flesh could no more register a wrinkle or produce grey hair than a glass globe could, were it not for the voluntary or involuntary action of the mind behind it. You can withhold or give away a smile, and the same power is yours when it comes to a wrinkle or a grey hair or a weak eye or an ailing body. And taking it a step further, we add or with a flat wallet. Because in the beginning, everything was created from something, and this something, you will admit, was mind or substance, and is infinite, and is present everywhere. Your Father, with whom you are allied, is the force or power that is capable of calling this substance into existence and molding it into expected things. You finish your product mentally, communicate with the Father and give form to your desires and then express them into existence. No matter where this finds you, no matter what limitations have been placed on you, when you once ally yourself with the Father within and take your demonstrations back to the beginning, you realize that you have the opportunity to solve everything again, to get rid of objectionable conditions and make things arise again. When there is a condition that is objectionable to you and that is not good, your I am or Father within takes its patterns to the ark, and then the cleansing floods envelop the earth body and cleanse it of all conditions that are undesirable. The body is purified, and when the floods subside, we find the whole earth body, fresh and new, ready to produce the pattern again. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Open yourself to him, seeker of truth. Open your mind to him, and let him enter your life. He is already inside your heart and asks for entrance to the garden. Open yourself to him and ally yourself with him, and see worlds changed before your very eyes. My words are spirit and they are truth, and they will not return to me empty. That is now your power. You understand? Now you can speak with authority, because you are one with the Father. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You cannot be transformed by anything outside. yourself. This transformation must come from the inside out. If you can saturate your mind with youth and strength, so that it does not notice age, youth will settle on your forehead. When your mind is filled with happiness, smile after smile waves across your face, almost without conscious effort. This is the key to the whole situation. Saturate your mind with the idea, and cooperate with the Father within, with whom there is no shadow of change, and who is already waiting to bring into your life things that eye has not seen, nor ear heard. Return to the place of in the beginning, and declare your divine paternity. Detach yourself from so many years or from such and such conditions. Affiliate yourself closely with the idea that life is spirit, immutable and perfect, and no limitations can be written on it. Be very aware of the fact that you are spirit, and that God is spirit, and this is your authority to ally yourself with the Father within. Can anything be clearer then than the fact that right now you have all your possession, all the power, and that nothing can harm you in any way? It doesn't matter if you feel like you are a failure, poor, sick, subject to 1001 fears or material laws. Behold, you now recognize yourself, and can expect to see mountains melt, and hills leap like lambs sooner. This renewed understanding. It doesn't matter what man-made laws say about you. They can blame you for any of a dozen things. You may be under the ban of the law of the horoscope that says certain things because you were born on a certain date, but all this is like a light thistle. It is carried on the winds of the mortal mind, and can only take root where it is given permission to do so. Until then, it is a mere nothing floating without destination or objective, seeking accommodation wherever it can. The law of God, immutable and perfect, has made you free, and this is the only law that you are obliged to obey. God is your Father. You are not under slavery of family thought or race. You will only inherit the qualities of the Spirit. What are these qualities? Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Let him out into your garden, dear seeker of truth. Ally yourself with the Father within. Dwell with him in the kingdom of heaven, and place yourself in unity with this life-giving current. This is your inheritance of joy. Claim it, use it, make it yours. Remember to like and subscribe, and let the sound of the bell guide you back.